What's up, guys? Jim Bratton, Stephen Smith coming at you with this week's Week in Review. It's been a while.
Yeah.
We have been having some technical problems over the last few weeks with memory cards and whatnot, but we are excited to be back. And I guess we could go ahead and get into the discussion of the Dallas football Cowboys making news this week, with Tony Romo coming out and giving his heartfelt spiel about how this is Dak Prescott's team now. Basically what we've all known for the past 7 weeks or so, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Tony Romo came out and gave, I'd say, like a great speech. You know, top to bottom, he talked about what it felt like for him to come up as a young kid and get that spot, as him being a competitor losing this spot, and what he's going to do to back, Dak Prescott and whatnot. I mean, throughout America, I think we've all been saying it's Dak Prescott's team, but to see Tony Romo step in front of a camera and step in front of media and openly admit that this is Dak Prescott's team was big for the team, just to, have that closure, knowing that Dak and Tony are all on the same page. It's huge.
And it takes a lot of heart to come out and admit that this is not your team anymore, and you know that this is not your team anymore. It took a lot of guts for him to come out and say that.
And when your team's 8-1 and you're a franchise quarterback and you haven't seen them play this well, do you wish for the better of the team, or do you selfishly play? That's where he was stuck with 2 options. And I mean, obviously, I think he's making the right decision at this point, because if Dak ever starts to plummet, he can still come in. I mean, we still know what Tony Romo's made of.
We do. And now the question remains if Dak should keep playing at the same level he's been playing, and the Cowboys do make the playoffs, which they're on track to earn the #1 seed in the NFC. If they make the playoffs and perform well, what happens to Tony Romo at the end of the year? Do they trade him?
I mean, you got to get rid of his contract, because you can't have a starting quarterback as your backup.
Exactly.
He's got to go. I mean, I look around. You could see the New York Jets being a possibility.
The Denver Broncos.
Broncos being
maybe
a possibility.
Maybe the Chicago Bears.
I mean, there's the 3 suitable teams for Tony Romo, and if Dak earns this spot, Tony Romo has earned a spot in the league. You can't tell me Tony Romo is not a top 32 quarterback in the NFL.
Oh, he is.
You know what I'm saying?
No doubt.
So it's good that he did this for future's sake. It shows that he's a good teammate. Like, guys across the league that are sitting in a locker room right now could be saying, I'd play for that guy. I'd rather have a guy like that, composed, well-spoken, able to handle a big-time situation like that.
Yeah.
Guys in the locker room are sitting and saying, I'd rather play for him instead of my guy, at the time. Because if you look, I mean, the Bears are struggling. I mean, the Jets are struggling. Fitzpatrick threw 6 interceptions in the same game earlier this year. The Broncos are definitely wishing they had a leader at quarterback instead of having to lean on their defense as much as they do. Those are 3 suitable teams that could very well be interested in Tony Romo.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens to Tony Romo this offseason. I'll tell you a team, Stephen, that does not need a quarterback for the foreseeable future: the Tennessee Titans. That's right,
I like that.
Coming away with a huge victory over the Green Bay Packers this past week, 47-25. Marcus Mariota went off. I believe he threw for 295 yards and 4 touchdowns.
And
I understand that the Packers' pass defense is obviously not their strong suit.
Right.
But for him to come out and perform like this for the past couple of weeks, actually, has been incredible.
Did you see a stat about Mariota's touchdown to turnover ratio in the red zone for his career? Mariota.
I don't know if I've seen that particular stat, but I have seen a graphic of him being in some pretty good company. You know, when you're in there with guys like Brett Favre.
Yeah.
And I think Steve Young was in there as well. You kind of feel like you're in good shape.
Let's break this down. Marcus Mariota, since coming into the league last year, in the red zone, is 27 touchdowns and 0 interceptions in the red zone. That's decision-making, leadership, being able to understand the defense and what's in front of him alongside making that right decision, like I said earlier with decision-making. Marcus Mariota is poised in that position, and a 47-25 victory over the Green Bay Packers, this is one thing that a lot of people see that as, oh my goodness, the Titans beat the Packers, right? Holy cow. You sit there and you look at it. The Titans aren't bad. The Packers, one of their down years. But what proves a good team is when a decent football team takes advantage of a bad football team. And the Titans are a good football team, I'd say, and the Packers are slumping. To put yourself on the next level, on a Tom Brady-esque level, not saying he's Tom Brady, but putting yourself in a category like that to work there, you got to beat the teams you're supposed to beat.
You do.
You have to. And a 47-25 win, that's pretty demanding as a victory. And if you watch the game, they came out, first play from scrimmage was DeMarco Murray, left side, 75 yards down the sideline for a touchdown. They came out and they tried to make a statement. Malarkey said after the game
I'd just like to throw this in there. Did you see DeMarco Murray's touchdown pass?
Yes, to Delaney
Walker.
It's the exotic smash mouth is really starting to show itself.
It is starting to take effect, definitely.
Malarkey pulled a lot of moves. The Walker touchdown throw. He did a opening onside kickoff.
I heard about that.
For the first play of the game. For the past couple of weeks, we've seen a lot of trick plays in Malarkey's scheme. Do you think this gives his players confidence and they want to run these plays?
Oh, yes, definitely. I mean, I would bet that DeMarco Murray and Delaney Walker urged the coaching staff to put that play into the game plan. Just because of how much fun it would be for them and how much of a surprise it would be for not a very good pass defense in particular.
You know, they've got to be licking their chops knowing that it's going to work. You know, when DeMarco's running out there to the right side and he sees Delaney going out there, Delaney had all types of end zone space on that throw. You know, so when you have a guy like that, Delaney Walker had 9 receptions, 124 yards, and 1 touchdown. That's a tight end putting up wide receiver numbers.
Wow.
Murray had 17 carries, 123 yards, and a touchdown. Mariota, 19 of 26, 295 yards, 4 touchdowns, like you said. Those are big-time numbers from big-time players. It's time that our big-time players play like that week in, week out.
It is. I kind of want to go back and touch on what Colin Cowherd said on his show. I believe it was yesterday.
Okay.
Or maybe a couple days ago. He said, basically, give me Marcus Mariota over Aaron Rodgers. He's younger. He is as accurate, if not more accurate than Rodgers.
Colin Cowherd said this?
Yeah.
That's big time.
Also made it a point that Mariota is a star.
I think so too. Do you not think he's a star?
I do too. I think he's obviously the best quarterback that we've had since Steve McNair.
Yeah.
Obviously.
He's right here, in between the ears, and everything physically is what we need. He's a star. He's going to be great. He is great.
He already is.
All right, let's talk. We're going to stay on the Titans real quick, but I got to bring something up.
Okay.
MTSU boy Kevin Byard led the team in tackles.
He has been incredible.
I
didn't see that he led the team in tackles. He finished with
7 tackles and one sack. That's big. That's our MTSU boy.
Isn't it? That is.
Shout out to Kevin Byard. I love that he's out there. I mean, Jason McCourty had 5, Rashard Johnson, Brian Arakpo. I mean, he's above big-time players. I love that our boy, our guy, MTSU, Kevin Byard, is stepping out there and putting on a little bit of the show for the Tennessee faithful.
He has just been incredible. You know, I honestly had no idea what to expect from him.
Right.
Coming in the as a third round pick from middle.
Right.
I thought he was going to be one of those developmental guys that you could put behind Rashad Johnson, and then he would take the reins in a few years. He might be taking the reins from Rashad Johnson this year.
As we sit here and speak, he's been getting starts.
Been phenomenal.
I think he's started 2 or 3 of the last couple games, and when he gets in there, there's a difference between talk about it guys and do it guys, right?
Yeah.
There's always the guys that talk about being great and doing great things, and you never see them perform on the field. I follow Kevin Byard on Instagram. I follow him on Twitter. I see his inspirational quotes and his pictures that get me hyped up. But when I see them out there on the field, that's when they're supposed to be at their best. And Kevin Byard steps up when he's on that football field. He plays the game well. I read an article on one time. It was on Tennessee Titans online football shop or whatever. They were talking about Kevin Byard when he got drafted.
Yeah.
And he was comparing himself to players. And he had Ed Reed on the list, Troy Polamalu on the list, and Brian Dawkins on the list.
It's good company.
If Kevin Byard can beat any of those 3 guys, I'd be thrilled.
I would be ecstatic if that happened. Now we just need a corner or 2 to put back there with them.
Help them out, yeah, exactly. Man, go Titans.
Go Titans. Tighten up.
Go
Big game this week against the Colts.
Yeah, let's not forget about that, because second in the AFC South, 6-3 Texans.
Are we tied with them?
5-5 Titans.
Are we tied with the Colts for second right now? The Texans are the division leaders.
Right.
I don't really know how.
No, the Colts are 4-5. We're 5-5.
Oh, okay.
Yep. But that'd be a big win. Who does Houston play this week? Do we know?
They are playing the Raiders on Monday Night Football in Mexico City.
So are we screaming "Go Raiders" Monday night?
We are.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
I'll make sure. I'm making sure that I'll wear silver and black that day.
I might have a black hole in my house that night. We got to see the Texans lose.
I guess I need to put Derek Carr in my lineup for fantasy football and see what happens.
Let's get them going.
Speaking of that, Derek, I just want to touch on this briefly. How about Derek Carr?
I think the Raiders are one of the most overlooked team in the NFL right now.
Oh, no doubt.
They have good pieces on that football team. You got, obviously, Derek Carr, like you said, who for the season, listen to this, 17 touchdowns, 3 interceptions.
For the season?
That's a good season. You see that on other guys, you're thinking maybe MVP candidates. You see Matt Ryan's getting a lot of MVP talk, Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, Derek Carr's sitting 6-3. Are they first in the AFC West?
They are, yeah.
After they're tied with Kansas City. The AFC West is pretty stout. I didn't realize Kansas City, Oakland, and Denver all had 7 wins.
I remember talking about this last week. The Chargers are not a bad team at all. I know they're in the cellar of the AFC West right now, but there's some good teams in that division.
And that's
when you have them, the Chiefs, who are sneaky, and nobody talks about them. Even though they do have Justin Houston coming back from IR, which is going to be dangerous.
Huge.
And then there's the Broncos, the defending Super Bowl champions, and the Oakland Raiders.
They have, ESPN has the Texans beating the Raiders by 6.
Really?
Yeah. Which I don't know.
I've heard the Raiders would be favored by 6 in that game. I heard the odds have kind of swung more towards them.
Tell me if I'm reading this wrong. Is that them or is that Texans?
That is the Raiders.
The Raiders are projected to win by 6?
Yeah.
They're supposed to win by 6. Okay.
I'm looking at the win probability right now. It says that the Raiders have a around a 63% chance
Okay.
of winning.
I would take Derek Carr over Brock Osweiler in their careers right now. Osweiler 11 touchdowns, 9 interceptions.
Is he really worth the $72 million contract?
I'm not paying.
That the Texans had to pay him, but
I'm not paying somebody to come in and throw 11 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. Big time. That's big money right there. $72 million for what? 3 years? 4 years?
I think it was 4, if I remember correctly.
That's insane. What you got up next?
Next, we have the college football playoff.
Big story this week, right?
It is. Last week, I ended up giving my predictions at the end of the show. I said that at the end of the season, we would still see Alabama in the top spot. Number 2 would be, I believe it was Clemson. Number 3 was Michigan. And number 4 was Washington. Little did I know that Clemson, Michigan, and Washington would all lose this week. And now here we are just around a week later with Alabama remaining in the top spot. Ohio State, the Ohio State, climbing up to the number 2 spot. And we have Michigan coming in at number 3 and Clemson coming in at number 4, switching positions from last week when they were ranked 2 and 3. This week they're ranked 3 and 4. What are your thoughts on the playoff here?
My first thing that sticks out to me the most about this whole situation, and I know everybody's been beating this dead into the ground, that Michigan and was it Clemson both lost to teams that they were projected to win by 3 touchdowns?
Oh, yeah. I didn't really see the odds, but I would imagine
I think
it was somewhere in that area.
I think they were both projected to win by like 19 to 22 points, somewhere in that little prediction area, okay?
Okay.
And they lost to unranked teams. Louisville is sitting at the number 5 spot right now, with 1 loss on their record to Clemson, at Clemson, 42 to 36. If I'm Louisville right now, I'm livid because these teams just lost to not top 25 schools, to schools that were not supposed to beat them. Not only were they not supposed to win, they were supposed to lose by 3 touchdowns. And Louisville still sits at number 5. And I've read off their resume many a times. They put up huge numbers. They have not scored less than 32 all season.
Louisville has not?
No. And they're about to go play Houston. And I'm reading.
Trap game?
Yeah, that's going to be a shootout with Ward Jr. and Jackson back there. Louisville has a Heisman candidate who has been doing things all year that we have never seen before. He's on pace to break touchdown records like nobody's business. And yet, a guy like that leading a team like that is still pushed out. I think that's wrong.
And maybe one thing I've heard about Lamar Jackson is maybe the committee thinks that he has what is called the Cam Newton effect on that team, because you remember Cam Newton taking Auburn to the national championship in, I believe it was 2020.
Was that
2011?
Them against Oregon?
It was.
Yeah, that was
2011.
Maybe, yeah. 2011 seems about right. I would say that's right.
2010, 2011, somewhere.
That time span.
But I think this is going to add way more fuel to the fire for the expansion argument and how the college football playoff needs to expand from 4 to either 6 or 8.
Well, this kind of rubs me the wrong way. The college football playoff is 4 teams, and that's kind of what it is.
Right.
But if we allow 6 teams and then allow 8 and then allow 10, 12, 14, it's just going to keep building because everybody wants their team in the playoff. And yeah, it's hard to judge the top 4, but I think if we keep expanding it, that it'll just keep expanding, period. And football is not a game where you want it to be a playoff. I mean, the playoffs in the NFL does not include every team.
No.
You know, it includes the best 8. I understand that's 8 and 8, that's 16 total out of 32, but those are the best players in the world, and this has been a system they've been using for a while. We're just now starting this college football thing, and I think if we keep making a drastic change each year, we'll never have anything set in stone to where we can build a foundation off of.
Right. I see what you're saying. I think I think that the playoff is going to be expanded in the next few years to 6, and I say 6 teams. That's what I would put it at.
Okay.
6 teams probably, because you have the top 5. You have the 5 conference champions, and then you have 1 at large. Because hear me out on this.
Okay.
I think there has to be an incentive for teams to schedule tougher and play better in those close games.
I like that.
Because with 8 teams, there's the possibility for those teams ranked 7th and 8th to not schedule as well and still find a way to sneak into the playoff.
Let me ask you something. You're a big Tennessee football fan, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right, so your Vols, your beloved Vols, go 11-1.
Yeah.
1 loss comes to Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Lose in the SEC championship. Okay? Washington goes 10-2. Loses to like a 15-ranked team and an 18-ranked team. Okay? Loses those 2 games, but they win the Pac-12. Are you happy when Washington's in the final 6, but Tennessee's not? Because what if they pick another at-large team? That's when.
That's what I would ask. It would depend who is ranked near Tennessee.
Right. Well, let's say y'all did it, and let's say Ole Miss is 11-1 with their 1 loss to Alabama too. But Ole Miss plays in the SEC West, which kind of is harder than the SEC East.
Kind of.
What do we do with Washington? Because I'd put both my money on Ole Miss and Tennessee in that situation. Do you give Washington still a bid because they won a weaker conference?
Well, are we talking about the playoff being at 6 teams?
Teams.
Washington would get a bid anyway, regardless, because they won the Pac-12.
Right, but would you rather Washington automatically get a bid because they won the Pac-12, or would you rather have the top 6 teams in there? Because you're giving automatic bids confirms that there's going to be someone from the ACC, someone from the Big 10, Big 12, SEC, Pac-12.
Yeah.
What we've seen these past 2 years is that the Big 10 and the SEC are, I would say, above, and with Clemson and Florida State, I would say are above the rest of the competition.
Yeah.
So when these 3 conferences are producing 2 or 3 teams that could beat the best teams out of these 2 conferences, being the Big 12 and the Pac-12, I'd hate to see these teams get left out of that situation. Knowing that they played a harder schedule, that they week in, week out had a SEC team, ACC team to play. Because I believe that the top 3 teams in the SEC can beat Washington.
No doubt. Alabama, you're talking about Alabama, LSU, and...
Dude, put Tennessee on them, just for your sake. Let's see what Tennessee can do. I don't know, man. It's sketchy. We'll see what it's about.
We'll see what happens down the road. There's going to be some incredible football coming up over the next few weeks, and I'm not making any more predictions until the end of the season about the rankings.
Right.
I'm just going to let everything play out as it may. But I guess we could go ahead and move on to, do you want to talk about MTSU
Dude, they're killing
and
me.
their struggles?
They're killing me. Yeah, I mean, we can. I don't want to touch on it long. Yeah.
I don't want to touch on it that long either.
Went up to Marshall this weekend. Tough loss.
Very tough.
We turned the ball over like 3 times in the last like 5 minutes of the game, I'm pretty sure. Kind of gave away the ball game. It's obvious that the team misses Brent. They want to rally behind their guy.
They do.
But Brent's missed. They know that they went from having a very like big, publicized, fun bowl game to where they're going to drop to like a 6 or 7 win team instead of a 9 or 10 win team.
Yeah.
So whenever that happens, and I've been in clubhouses where I've been playing, and your team is the best team in the district, in the region, in the state of Tennessee when I was playing, and then you lose a pitcher or you lose a catcher, you lose your big time hitter,
Yeah.
and that team you feel the drop off. You know going into a 3-game series that your guy on the mound is not there for you, so you've got to make up for it somehow. Brent was the heart and soul of this team.
Easily.
Right?
No doubt.
I mean, he was top 5, top 10 in the nation in basically every passing category. It's hard mentally and physically to replace someone like that because wide receivers, their timing's not down the same. Offensive linemen, the blocking's not the same. You're not blocking for the same guy. Brent's probably a better quarterback and probably will be a better quarterback as time progresses than John is, right? And as a offensive lineman and as a wide receiver, things just don't click the same.
They don't.
The team is doing the best they can, saying we're rallying behind the guy, we're going to be here for him. But it's different doing it and saying it. It's a different feel. I love watching MTSU play, but you can just tell, man, it's different. Things aren't clicking the same.
And I'm starting to wonder what's going on with the defense too.
That's been a big question all year before.
And I've seen some blurbs on Twitter and things like that about what should happen to defensive coordinator Tyrone Nix at the end of the year.
Coach Nix has been on the hot seat a lot this year because the offense is obviously putting up big numbers, but when the offense puts up 50 and your opposing team puts up 49, you're stressed the whole game. I said when I watched them play Alabama A&M that our defense was the quickest I've seen it sideline to sideline. They swarm the ball well. But the play calling doesn't seem to be working. Just the coordinating, the schemes just don't seem to be working anymore. Something's not there on the defensive side of the ball that hadn't been there all season.
It hasn't. Hopefully MTSU can get back on their feet this week at Charlotte.
I hope so.
Last year worked out pretty well for us last year, the Charlotte game. I think that was the season opener where we put up 70. Of course, Brent was in the game at the time. So it's going to be a completely different feel and atmosphere. But, hopefully we can get back on the right track and build our resume for a potential bowl game.
A win is needed this week. Bad. Like, we need that one.
We do.
All right, let's get off MTSU. It's sad.
It is. I guess we could go ahead and switch gears to college basketball, which is now in full swing.
Oh, yeah, it is.
I know that your Kentucky Wildcats have been on a winning spree as of late.
Man, all right. I'm the type of guy that I've watched the Kentucky practices. I've watched Big Blue Madness whenever they have their opening little thing. I've watched all 3 games being their warm-up game against like USF Austin, something out of Texas, and then their game against like, started with a C, and then obviously their game against Michigan State. The first 2 games, I know a lot of people did not watch, but we struggled. We actually went into halftime game 2, and I think we were only up by like maybe 6 points. We were not looking good. We don't shoot the ball well. I'm looking up some stuff that right now. This is why I'm not really getting to the point. We played San Francisco, or why can I not? Stephen F. Austin. We beat them 87-64. Then we played Canisius, the Golden Griffins, and we beat them 93-69. I know both those scores sound kind of like, oh, good win, you know? We haven't played well. I watched the game against Michigan State, and I'm sure a lot of people watched the game against Michigan State being in Madison Square Garden. You know, Duke and Kansas played right after. It was a good night of basketball everybody wanted to watch. Kentucky played better that game than we had played all year, and that's thanks to Malik Monk, the shooting guard. He's a freshman. I've been watching him shoot. He was not getting his feet set up. He was not getting his hips square. Shoulders were all over the place when shooting. He came out against Michigan State, and it looked like Devin Booker, Jamal Murray, our guys from the past had stepped into him and was like, this is how you shoot. And when De'Aaron Fox is going to be a top 5 draft pick, Malik Monk is going to be a top 5 draft pick, Bam Adebayo is going to be a top 10 draft pick. We have 3 guys on our team that are insane to watch. Athletically, their speed, their height, their skill set for the game of basketball. Kentucky and Duke, I say, are bar none the 2 best teams in college basketball. I know Duke lost. But Duke had like 3 guys out, 3 big-time players out, and they lost to a good Kansas team. Kansas isn't going to be bad, but there's something about Duke and Kentucky this year. I don't know if Duke will lose another game. I don't know if Kentucky will lose until they play maybe Kansas or a Louisville or something.
I've got the upcoming schedule for Kentucky on my phone right now. Next, they have got Duquesne, Cleveland State, and UT Martin, all within a 5-day span. And then this is where it gets a little trickier. On the 28th, they go to Arizona State. Okay. Which I've heard might be, I don't know if I want to say a trap game this early in the year, but I've heard that Arizona State might give them some problems.
Arizona State has a guy named Trey Holder who can play some ball. He is a guard, averages like 24 points a game, shoots the ball at high percentage, shoots above 50%, and shoots the free throw at like above 70, probably 70-75%. Trey Holder is a ball player. Now, the reason I just said that Kentucky and Duke might not lose any more games, unless they're these big-time games, is because Kentucky's guard play with De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk, and Isaiah Briscoe. Quote me now, what's today?
It is November 17th.
November 17th, I'm writing it down. It's 9:57. Those 3 guys will be known for being the best defensive backcourt in college basketball this year.
You heard it here first.
You heard it here first. November 17th. I called it. Those 3 guys will shut down offenses because of their defense ability, which gets us fast breaks, and then I love watching the alley-oop dunk. Those 3 guys. De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk, Isaiah Briscoe. Just watch out. Predictions.
there any other headlines in college basketball?
Let me think. Duke lost. Big loss. But like I said, don't look over that. Don't look over the Duke loss. Or don't overthink it. They'll be okay. Duke will be just fine. Ooh, Oregon lost early in the year. Oregon was ranked, I think, a preseason top 10.
Ooh.
And they lost already. That's obviously not the best thing for them. Let me see. No, they did not lose. Why did I think Oregon lost? Oregon still 1-0, I'm sorry. Michigan State has a loss. I could have, yeah, Oregon did lose. Oregon lost to Baylor 66-49. And Oregon was preseason ranked number 4.
Number 4, wow.
Yeah, that's a big loss. But early in the season, man, a lot of teams win or lose 7 to 12 games.
There's going to be some struggles.
Yeah, I mean, until conference schedule comes around, which starts in January, that's when you really start to know who the team is. Everybody's playing with each other full for the first time this year. For the first 1 to 10 games, it's an open ball game. But once they start to get in that rhythm, I was watching the other night, and Seth Greenberg, one of ESPN's commentators, was talking about how legs have to get fresh. And I think about that. And you ever heard of like a runner's high?
Yeah. Where
people run, and you think you're going to pass out, die, fall over, collapse on the side of the road.
But then you
push
get
through
that
it.
second win,
Right.
and you push through.
You got to think, for a lot of these freshmen that are coming and playing, they've never worked out this hard.
No.
Right?
Right.
They've never ran as much as they have. This is
Right.
real basketball now. Whenever their legs get into it and they pass this basketball high, these ball players are going to turn into Naismith Award watchers, like big-time SEC Player of the Year, Pac-12 Players of the Year. We can't jump to conclusions too soon because they got to get past that quote-unquote runner's high.
And Kentucky is I just want to go back to Kentucky for a minute. They are going to be one of the teams to look for. Should be not preseason number 1, but they might be the number 1 team by the start of next week.
Yeah. I think due to the loss of Duke, I think they're just going to flip-flop 1 and 2. Maybe Duke drops back to, at worst, 3 or 4. Because they lost to number 7, Kansas.
They did.
So, I don't think Duke's going too far. I think at the end of the year, my 4 teams, we'll go ahead and do it right now. My final 4 is going to be...
Also, you heard this.
Yeah, y'all are getting it on.
I'm going to go ahead and write this down as well.
Okay, you're going to have Kentucky, Duke... You're going to have Kentucky and Duke leading the way. I think I'm going to bring in a surprise team just for the fun of it.
Middle Tennessee State.
We'll say, I'm going to say Virginia sneaks in there.
I could see that happening.
And then a Villanova team is in there. Villanova, I was watching highlights on them the other day. They're a pretty strong team. They beat Purdue 79-60 or 76 at Purdue. And Purdue's no joke this year either. So who do I have?
We have your final 4.
All right, let me hear it.
We have Kentucky,
Bingo.
Duke,
Yes.
Virginia,
Yes.
and Villanova.
November 17th. Go ahead and buy your tickets. In my championship, ideally.
Oh, you want to go ahead and predict the championship?
I do.
Here.
Let's do it, dude. We're talking about it. Championship game. Ideally, of course, it's what we want. It's what I want. I'm a biased fan. Give me Kentucky versus Duke. Give me Kentucky in overtime. I'm joking. But I do think those are by far the 2 best teams in the NCAA, Kentucky and Duke. So if I had to pick non-biased and just based off who they have in numbers, Kentucky and Duke. Best teams.
Kentucky and Duke. You guys heard it here first. And I guess we're going to go ahead and wrap it up.
I'm glad they got to hear that.
Too. It was a great show today. It was nice being back on the air.
Feels good.
Make sure that you guys better make sure that you follow us on Twitter at SJ Week in Review for all of your sports updates and our latest shows. For Stephen Smith, I'm Jim Bratton. We will see you guys in a few weeks.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Because we'll be off next week.
Thanksgiving, right?
But we will be sure to get back on the air. I'm not sure the day of the week after Thanksgiving, but that next Thursday we will be back on the air, and we will see you guys then.
And we'll be better then. We'll be better.